Hell yeah guys and gals, Persona 5 Strikers for the PlayStation 4. Now I have put in a bunch of hours and I can confirm that, while it's not as great as Royal or the original P5, I can say that it's still a solid good video game. The combat will take some time to get used to, but once you get it memorized, it's honestly really fun to beat up all the shadows you see in front. I'm instantly getting flashbacks from playing Devil May Cry 5. The soundtrack is still fantastic, and I enjoyed exploring around the jails. I've put in a ton of hours into Strikers, and have even gotten the Platinum trophy as well. Overall I enjoyed it, and definitely would recommend getting this game, if you're a fan of Persona 5, and want to know what happens after the first game's story. And while playing Strikers, it got me thinking of a video I made last year and well, it was shit. Back towards the end of 2020, I made a short review on Persona 5 Royal calling the video Brief Exam. Which in hindsight, was not the best idea. I always have these all the time in my mindset. For every few good ideas, there's always at least one bad idea and that was one of them. Sure I suppose I mentioned the main topics about it, like the gamma play and the soundtrack, but I knew I could do so much more, even with just how much content there is in this game. So as a way to say, sorry, how about instead, I make a long, part series where I talk about one of my favorite video games out there. I was gonna do one massive video, but then realizing the video could go on for way longer than it should, and the amount of rendering times on my video editor will be crazy. I think it's probably for the best if I just do it part by part. And on the plus side, I can always take the parts once they are uploaded and mash them up together into one video in the near future. I'm not going to talk about entirely 110% everything about Persona 5 Royal, otherwise I know I'm bound to forget at least one or two things, so I can't guarantee it. This is just me going through my journey and my experience about this game from start to finish. And one last thing, spoilers. Not just for the story, but for the Royal Edition and the third term semester as well, once we get to it. So with all the backstory now covered, let's grab ourselves a nice beverage as we begin this long journey of relooking and re-reviewing Persona 5 Royal. Like always, first impressions mean a lot to me, and this game kicks it right out of the park. You're treated with an intro about the game, checking out its characters, while jumping around to some nice music. You also notice a new character to the game, more on her in another time, and once we're breath into what the game will offer, it's time to play the game. Insert Triple H's theme song. The first thing you'll notice is the bright colors and the smooth animation. The game's graphics look really good. It pretty much has everything you need, from colorful city to dark places. It truly is a work of art. Yosuke would be so proud of that comment. And while I'm at it, the anime cutscenes are nice as well. I enjoy watching anime from time to time, and while I'm no expert of the anime fandom, I can appreciate the work added here. Wish I could say the same for Persona 5 the animation. We are placed into a casino with no knowledge as of yet, but what we do know is that security is on high alert, because they're after an intruder. Then the camera reveals the invader, who is also our main character for the entire game, whose name appears to be Joker. Joker tries to find a way out of here, avoiding contact with the security guards. We get cornered and trapped by the guards, and it looks like we can't escape. Until a strange woman appears and helps Joker take out the enemies. After doing so, they go their separate ways and Joker manages to leave the casino in style. And he sticks the landing. But I'm gonna give this one a 9. I felt the landing was a bit off. It looks like from his point of view, he is now safe. That is until cops were waiting for him, and it turns out to be an ambush. Joker tries his best to escape, but it's no use. The numbers get the better of him, and Joker gets arrested. We learn to find out that one of our teammates apparently sold him out, and as much as he would like to know who did it, he first has to go through the interrogation. And it doesn't go the way it seems. The interviewers drugged him, and from the looks of it, they also beated him up. One of the interviewers gives him a clipboard to sign, and this is our way to choosing Joker's name. Something I have to add before I move on is I did call him Chicken Strips, but then realizing what a terrible name that was, so I went for N, just to keep it realistic in terms of the story. I'm not ruling out the Chicken Strips name for a different game though. We see a woman named Sinaijima. She's a public prosecutor of the Tokyo District Special Investigation Department at the Public Prosecutor's Office. Despite the area being off limits, she wants to interview the suspect to confirm the questions she needs answered. Even though she has been told to stand down. She takes a no for an answer and the SIU director decides to give her the green light. However, she can only interview the suspect for a short period of time because his methods are unknown. All she wants is for N to cut the bullshit and tell her everything that he knows and to start from the very beginning. Before he thinks about it, a random blue butterfly appears, telling Ren that there is still a way to win this game. All he has to do is to remember the events that happened half a year ago. Hey guys and gals, my name's Ren, so you're probably wondering, how did I of all people get in such a sticky situation like this? Well, it's a long story. Persona 5 Royal's story begins on April the 9th. Ren is on a train heading to his destination. We then get a flashback to a woman being held by a drunk man and calls for help. Ren stops the man from taking advantage of the girl, but for some strange reason, the drunk man yells out he'll sue, and Ren gets taken away by the cops. So far, that's all we know. After the train ride, as Ren was making his way to the street, he noticed a weird app appeared on his phone and everyone around him froze. It's just like that one episode from The Simpsons. Ren sees a blue flame from a distance and, just when he tries to figure out what it is, everything unfreezes and it seems things are back to normal. Ren sees the app again and deletes it. We cut to the back streets, and no, I'm not talking about the Backstreet Boys. And he enters a cafe shop known as the Le Blanc. A small place where they serve coffee and curry. We meet the owner of Le Blanc named Suguro Sakura, and he is going to be Ren's caretaker for 1 year. But not everything is as bright as it seems. Because of the incident with the drunk man, Ren has a criminal record, and his punishment was to be transferred and moved here, which explains why Ren will be living here. And because of your criminal record, for the next few days, you get treated like absolute dog shit. I'm not even kidding. You know how you have a family, and there's 3 kids in a single family. Yeah, you get the middle child treatment. Constant reminders of being on your best behavior, and make sure to do this, and don't do that, otherwise bad things will happen. Even though you're not in prison, it certainly feels like it. But then again, what Ren did was the correct decision, right? Because I cannot imagine what would have happened if he didn't interfere. And you do have another flashback about the incident revealing some of the blanks, but not entirely explaining the whole story. You get taken to your room, which looks dusty, so you clean it up. Ren likes to keep it clean around here. Ren will be attending a school called Shujin Academy, so it's best to call it a night. Just before you start sleeping, you get an alert on your phone that the app you deleted has strangely returned. You delete it once again, and head to sleep. You wake up in a smaller room with chains hanging, and your clothes seem to have changed to black and white stripes, resembling a prison outfit. You realize you're in a prison cell with 2 girls who appear to be wardens and you get introduced to Igor.
Trickster, welcome to my velvet room.
Thank you very much, I love what you have done to the place. Also, can you open your mouth when you speak next time? It is very rude. So you're in the velvet room. A place that only exists between dream and reality, mind and matter. It only appears when you're in the middle of sleeping, and if you are bound to a contract. Igor is the one who runs this place along with the 2 wardens, Caroline and Justine. He talks about rehabilitation, and how you are the one who can stop the evil corruption. After that you wake up thinking, was it actually a dream? But Ren is not too sure. And after a quick visit to Shujin Academy, to check this school out, and talk to the principal, whose head looks like a penis tip, and once you know your teacher is Miss Kawakami, it's time to begin your first day at school. By the way, you also have breaking news on civilians strangely having mental stew downs, which can cause a lot of damage to that person and others around. As you make your way to school, it looks like it's raining. Jesus, first you're treated like crap now, this. Can it get any worse than that? Well, don't just stand there, say something to her.
Good morning. You want me to give you a ride to school? You're gonna be late.
Sure, thank you.
Great job, Ren. You just ruin your chance of scoring. As they both drive off, and that app makes its return again, you are introduced to some more new characters. First up is Ryuji Sakamoto. A blonde guy who has a short temper at times, and at first, he seems like a troublemaker, but he isn't too bad. He also seems to be overly energetic, and he has a habit of yelling a lot.
Are you for real?
Heed my warning, you will hear a lot of that. Ryuji has beef with the guy in the car, which explains why he's pissed off. You both make your way to the school, but because the app you thought you had deleted popped up and listened to some keywords, you two magically teleported to a world called the Metaverse, and you see a castle in front of you, which was supposed to be the school. It sounds pretty bizarre. Both Ren and Ryuji get captured by some guards and get placed behind bars. Oh god damn it, not another cell. We find out the person behind all this is the same guy we saw earlier in the car. His name is Suguru Kamoshida, a former Olympian athlete who spends his time being a volleyball coach at Shujin. But he's dressed like a king around here and is only wearing undies. He orders his guards to beat them up and demands an execution on both of them. Just when hope was lost, something kicked into Ren. A voice being heard that only he can hear as his heart beats and screams the top of his lungs. A mask appears out of nowhere, and once Ren rips it out, his clothes have completely changed, testosterone levels are off the charts, and he has awakened his persona, Arsene. Think of it like any episode of Power Rangers, when they use their morphers to call their powers. In Persona 5 Royal, they call upon their persona for their powers. But it can only work in the metaverse, and not in actual real life, because that would be fucking weird. Kamoshida is absolutely scared, which was a perfect time for Ryuji to hit him as they are free and lock him up this time around. As you two try to find a way out, you come across a small creature named Morgana, who has the appearance of a cat, despite saying multiple times that he is not. He knows a lot about the metaverse, and while on a journey to find something inside the castle, he ended up getting captured. You also find out he's a Persona user too, and has the most experience compared to Ren and many other characters we'll witness throughout the game. I'm going to be honest, I don't like Morgana. I know he's supposed to be a mascot-like figure for the Phantom Thieves, and sure at times he can be cute, but I just don't like his personality. He comes off as a jerk and very sarcastic to others around him. When you compare it to Teddy in Persona 4 Golden, Teddy had a nice charm to his personality. He was funny, adorable, and one of those people you would love to have around. Morgana, however, to me, is the complete opposite. But thanks to his help, both Ren and Ryuji managed to escape the metaverse, while Morgana ponders if they have the potential. Ren and Ryuji return to the real world, and as they try to explain what's happened, of course nobody is going to believe them. They finally make it to the school, where they see Kamoshida, but it looks like he has no clue of what happened in the metaverse. Regardless, you finally begin your first day at school, and again, you're treated like dog shit. Students are spreading rumors, teachers giving you some weird looks, and hell, you even get judged by a librarian because of your criminal record. No matter where you go, it seems that you can't enjoy yourself, even if it's reading or studying in the library. Now I know I'm dragging on a bit in the story and failing to talk about the gameplay and the soundtrack, but that'll all come in due time. I just sorta want to use part 1, discussing the first hours of the story first. And plus, I've got plenty of time to talk about the other stuff. The next day, we see a red-haired woman who also appears to go to Shujin Academy. Since we've only just started, we don't know her name yet, so for now, she goes by student with a ribbon in hair. Later on after school, Ren and Ryuji meet up and have found a way to teleport back to the castle using Ren's phone, and we once again see Morgana. Hooray. All three of them head back inside the castle to check out the commotion, and we see other students being tortured. Ryuji was hoping to rescue them all, but later finds out that the students of anybody we see are just cognitions of a ruler's mind. In this case, Kamoshida's mind. You see, this entire castle is what the real Kamoshida sees from his point of view when we were at school. From his mind, even though it's a school, he sees it as a castle. Learning there's no point left, they decide to leave the castle until they are spotted by Kamoshida and his henchmen. We are outnumbered and get defeated. Then it's all revealed that, while Ryuji was a part of the track team, he unfortunately got injured thanks to Kamoshida, and since he's a teacher and can manipulate other teachers to believe what he says, Ryuji was the one who got punished and forced to leave the track team, and because of that, the track team of Shujin lost their match. And many team members' dreams got crushed, so they all put the blame on Ryuji. But Ryuji has none of that. He stands up to Kamoshida, putting him in his place, and unlocks his own persona powers. And I will admit, this is pretty badass.
Right on. What's up, Persona? This effing rocks.
All three of them defeat the henchmen, and they leave the castle again. Once they're safe, Morgana mentions that, since I've helped you, now it's time for you to help me. Morgana believes he is human and wants the two to help him enter deep into Mementos and find out. However, Ren and Ryuji do a complete 180 flip, return to the real world and leave Morgana on his own. As Ren and Ryuji were trying to discuss the other volleyball players about Kamoshida coaching was actually physical abuse, they all had the same answer and still wouldn't come out with the truth because they are afraid of what Kamoshida might do to them. And here's another character we bump into. Her name is Kamoki, the same girl we saw earlier. She is a very kind and compassionate girl who doesn't worry about people's opinions about her, and that's all thanks to her friend, Shiho. More on her pretty soon. She's also a good judge of character and willing to forgive others if they did something wrong. She warns both Ren and Ryuji to watch their back if they do happen to continue on the path of finding out what Kamoshida does behind everyone's back. As Ren and Ryuji are running out of options, Morgana surprisingly turns up as a cat to confront them.
Don't be so rough with me. Don't be so rough with me. Don't be so rough with me.
Morgana mentions he knows how to make Kamoshida reveal what he has been doing, and all they need to do is to head back to the castle and steal Kamoshida's most valuable desire, known as treasures. By stealing the treasure, the cognition version of Kamoshida will disappear along with his desires, leaving the real one with nothing but regrets, and thus, forcing him to come clean. Sounds like a cool idea, but the problem is that once the treasure is stolen, Morgana doesn't know if it'll actually kill the real Kamoshida. Ren and Ryuji want to stop him, but they can't take the chance of murdering, so Morgana leaves them to think about it. On our way home, we overhear Anne talking on the phone, which appears to be Kamoshida. She seems overwhelmed, so we invite her to talk it out. She then admits that it was him on the phone and Kamoshida has been trying to hook up with Anne, and if she doesn't accept, then her friend Shiho will not make it to the starting lineup of the volleyball team. Anne absolutely hates Kamoshida, but she's only doing this for the sake of her friend. But she does mention that she will find a way to figure it out somehow. Later on, a guy named Mishima lets Shiho know that Kamoshida wants to see her, and his reasons were unknown. It's given the impression that something bad is gonna happen very soon. The next day at school, things are doing okay as usual, until a commotion is overheard that Shiho is on top of a roof and she's going to jump. Now this was a massive twist for me personally. Keep in mind, when I was playing Persona 5 for the first time, I was not ready for the dark bits and pieces that were going to occur. It scared me shitless when I first experienced it. Luckily, she manages to survive, and she's placed inside an ambulance car and takes Shaho to the hospital. Ren and Ryuji catch up to Miss Hima, who knows the reasoning behind it. And then it's finally revealed from Miss Hima that Kamoshida has in fact been harassing and hurting other students for his own personal gain. After confronting Kamoshida about it, he brushes it off and has no sympathy for what happened to Shaho. He then mentions that all three of them will be expelled in the next board meeting. It seems like all hope is lost until remembering that we can head over to the castle and, like what Morgana said earlier, steal his treasure. While I'm on the topic now, let me say that Kamoshida is just a fucking asshole. Bullying students and trying to hit on girls makes me sick to my stomach. He's a jerk, he's a nitwit, and he's probably one of the best villains in Persona 5. He's one of those villains that you just cannot physically stand, especially after hearing what he has done. Usually nowadays with villains, they go in two ways: you either hate to love them, or hate them in general. It's pretty tricky to come up with a villain without the viewers actually loving them at the same time. So I just thought Atlas did a nice job creating a villain that makes me hate him so much to a point where I had to drink my coffee very angry. So Ren and Ryuji have decided that they want to steal the treasure despite knowing what could happen. Anne overhears this and wants to join them, but they refuse. But she doesn't take a no for an answer and secretly gets teleported with the others to the metaverse. They see her while she tries to take it all in, but is still confused about it. Morgana tries to calm her down, but she goes absolutely berserk when she thinks a monster cat is speaking. This will be a common thing you'll see throughout the game when new members arrive, and with little to no options left, they force Anne out of the metaverse. Until later on, she manages to get back in. Man, she really doesn't know what no means. But actually, she got back in because the same app that was on Ren's phone showed up on hers. The guards catch her and take Anne away. The gang hears about it and they abandon their plans for now to rescue Anne. Anne is tied up and sees Kamoshida along with the cognition version of her. In his world, the fake Anne has fallen in love with him. It's pretty sick, if you ask me. We catch up to them both, but it seems like we are too late as Anne is about to be executed. And then, like Ren and Ryuji, she awakens her persona and now she has the same power as both Ren and Ryuji. She instantly attacks her cognition self, and they defeat more of his henchmen. They retreat out of the metaverse and welcome her to the team, since she will be a massive help to take down Kamoshida. Since Morgana is stuck with us, Ren will be looking after him, while at the same time, trying to find out Morgana's purpose. Sojiro was concerned at first, having a pet running around his store, but then became open to the idea and let Ren keep Morgana here. At this point he slowly starts to feel open to Ren, but not entirely expressing his emotions yet. Around this time you'll get introduced to confidants, but more on those in a different time. Ren will get text messages on his phone during class, whenever it's something important or just having a laugh, but this teacher certainly isn't laughing. Yeah, I did a Call of Duty joke in 2021. That just goes to show that I'm running out of ideas. So now the pressure is on. For every palace you can check out, you have to try and find the treasure before the deadline. If you fail to do so, then it's game over. And now with Anne joining in the battle, you ready yourselves up with medicine, weapons, armor, and tools to build like lockpicks for example, and get ready to steal the treasure. It's at this point, because you'll be exploring in a palace, you have to use code names, so you don't accidentally reveal your real names. Ren is Joker, Ryuji is Skull, Anne is Panther and Morgana is Mona. And for this section, I'll go over the structure for every palace now, since the majority of the palace's objectives from A to B are the same. Throughout the palace, there will be a save room and you can enter it to save your game. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. You can also talk with your team members and even heal up if necessary. Each palace will have some sort of a puzzle here and there. Some of them are okay, but nothing really too special, and this one is one of them. They are not entirely bad, but not really great or spectacular. You can enter vents that are laid out, you can find maps to reveal parts of your mini-map so you know where to go, and you can find treasure chests to get rewards like more weapons, tools and a city ghastly gear. EWW. Because I'm playing the Royals edition, there are a couple of new features added. First up is the grappling hook. It allows you to zip up to a long, hard to reach gap, so you can continue on. Whenever it's progressing into the game, finding secrets and treasure chest. When you see a blue light flashing on your hand, that indicates that you can use the grapple hook. And another one is the will seeds. In each palace, there are 3 of them to find. They're pretty tough to locate, but it's important to always keep an eye out in case you bump into one. If you find all 3 of them, they'll fuse and combine into one. Overall, I really like the first palace. The design is very cool, and I love the music here. Yeah, this is gonna be a thing during this part review series. At first, it treats itself as a tutorial to make sure you understand how to play and know the structure of a palace, but once the tutorial is done, you're fully free to explore the castle and it'll then test you to see what you have learned. It's a nice introduction to what the palaces will be like as you progress further into the game. But I will say that the first few hours of Persona 5 will be a massive drag. If you think this video was me dragging on about the story and failing to mention the Gamma Play side, then yes, I was. Only because I was trying to replicate what Persona 5 Royal did the first couple of hours or so. It'll especially feel like a drag if you know the story layout, but you have to sit down and go through all the messages and all the tutorials again and again. But for first time players, just keep the faith. Keep on pushing on, because I'll tell you what, things will get even better once you keep on playing. So the team makes it to the end and finally finds the treasure. Even though it's a giant cloud, in order to reveal the treasure, we first have to let the real Kamoshida know that his desires are a treasure, so it can be seen. And to do this, the group makes a calling card to Kamoshida while keeping their identity a secret, just to let him know that they will steal the treasure. Once Kamoshida sees the note, the cognition is now on full alert, which means we can finally steal it, but it has to be done in one full day. So no lollygagging here in solitude. Because it's time to get to work. As you're heading to the treasure's location, you'll hear awesome music in the background, getting you all pumped up and ready. You make it back to the same place, and this time, the treasure has now been revealed, which is a crown. Morgana does seem pretty happy about it. Once reminded him it's not catnip, we take the treasure, only to be stopped by Kamoshida, and thus, it's time to begin the first boss. Kamoshida transforms into a hideous creature who represents lust. Along with him, he has a trophy that looks to be filled with girls of the volleyball team that can heal him whenever he eats them. In other words, he eats ass. And a glass of red wine in his hand to help boost his attack. The first thing you do is attack and kill the trophy to stop Kamoshida from healing. Then you try to avoid his gold metal spike attack, which'll give out incredible damage. And you also see cognition versions of Mishima and even Shaho to help Kamoshida out. We attack and make Shaho disappear, but because we're in the mind of Kamoshida, it won't affect the real Shaho at all. We get an idea that, if we knock the trophy off his head, it'll give the team the advantage. We do so, and he stops attacking. Well, except for that part. And we managed to beat Kamoshida. I love this boss overall. After all the things he's done, and finally being able to take him down is so satisfying. He can be a challenge at times, so you do have to keep your guard up, and overall, in my opinion, it's probably the best first boss I've ever encountered. Seriously. After all the 3D platformers I've gone to play and witness their first boss battles, nothing came close to this one. Kamoshida accepts defeat and gives them the crown. Anne had a choice to kill him, but by taking down the cognition version, the real Kamoshida will die as well. Anne doesn't kill him, as if she did, he wouldn't admit his crimes. So Kamoshida disappears, and the palace begins to destroy itself, because without a ruler and the ruler's desires, this place is worthless. After a running scene, they escape the palace with the treasure now being changed to a metal. To Kamoshida, that metal is just as important as the crown back in the castle. They are all unsure if the plan really worked, so they call it a night. Since a few days have passed since attending school, Suguro gives us permission to walk around the back streets at night. But only the back streets, we don't have the freedom to explore just yet. At school, Miss Kawakami lets Ren and Ryuji know that Kamoshida has taken some time off school and he placed himself under suspension. So one has to question, did this master plan truly worked? Have we changed the heart of Mr. Kamoshida? I guess the only thing we can do is wait patiently. And patiently waiting we did, until the school assembly arrived, and Kamoshida turned up all broken down, and admitting his crimes. He admits everything he did, from abusing his students and sexually harassing the female students. He announces that he is going to end his own life, but Anne doesn't want him to just simply take the easy way out. So instead, Kamoshida asks for anybody to call the police, and he gets arrested. So just like that, his heart ended up changing and everything seems to be good again. What is noticeable as well is that Shaho is now awake as well, so the good news keeps on rolling. So the gang decides to celebrate by selling the medal off and use the money to go to an all-you-can-eat buffet. It's all going very well for all of them, but a few things do happen. For starters, because students are partaking at a buffet filled with rich people, you instantly get judged and being called weird for participating at such a high event. Anne has some trouble when a woman blames her for knocking her food over, even though she was the one who bumped into Anne in the first place. But to make matters worse, Ren, Morgana and Ryuji get pushed out of the way from the higher ups while waiting for the elevator. Ren hears a voice that sounded very similar to somewhere he heard it before, but can't really recall about it. It looks like there are still adults out there who pick on people for no reason, and they all decide to make a pact. All four will team up to track down those bad people and use their personas to steal their treasures and hopefully change their hearts. But first, we need to come up with a name for this group. And I've got the perfect one for the Phantom Thieves. And their name is John C. Okay, all jokes aside, I actually went for salvation.
We going with that?
Instead of saying that, Ryuji, maybe you should have said,
"Are you sure about that?"
It is unknown what their next main target is, but only time will tell when an opportunity will present itself and the real challenge can begin.